We're all gonna be on film.
You want to see?
We could pull the table.
Do you want to see
out of the
table
way.
clutter or
You
not?
ready? What are we
You're
doing?
rolling. You're rolling.
I should go. My name is Pat Wynhoff, and I'm the oldest living, working docent in the museum. Somehow they think that gives me the right to tell you what to do. I have, after 25 years here, discovered two very important things, which I will share with you, and this will be the shortest little vision in the world. If you are going to be working in this museum, the first important thing is wear comfortable shoes. If you're lucky, you'll be on your feet for maybe 3 hours, and think about that. High heels for women doesn't work for 3 hours. The second thing is a mantra. I've given it to every class I've taught a fair number of them here, and it sounds silly, but when you first start out in this organization, you're a little intimidated about doing your thing. The mantra helps, and there are people who have been here for 15 years who will see me and say, I still remember the mantra. The mantra is said in your shower. You do shower ahead of coming to the museum. And the mantra is very simple. The mantra is, I know 90% more than 90% of the visitors. It is to reassure you that it is not a scary experience. And it is very true. And as a sidebar, I will mention, watch out for the other 10%, because they are where you learn. Docent is a Greek word for teacher-learner. And theoretically, as Jerry said, we always are learning something. In 25 years, I can tell you, every time I work on a Saturday, I learn something new, either about the museum, because they keep moving things, or about myself as a tour giver, or about the visitors. And the visitors are kind of fun, actually. And I would urge all of you, because it's my mantra, to work the floor. I recognize that some people are just not comfortable with that notion. The desk is the first place visitors get an impression. It's crucial. And the kind of people who work our desks are the kind of people that you want in any public relations place in the country. They are interested in the visitor, they're charming, they smile, they collect the money. The desk is a crucial job, but I love the floor, and I love the floor because it's so different every time you do it. But there are a couple of ways you can make it more comfortable for yourselves. And I'm here to tell you a little bit about how to craft a tour. One of the things that makes this museum totally different than almost all the rest of them is that we have no canned tours. Jerry has mentioned this. It is your tour. And that is basically what gives it not only its flavor and gives you your sense of, I have control of this, I'm comfortable in what I'm doing, but it also gives the visitor a very personal relationship to you. And one of the aims I've always had doing tours in the museum, we start out as me and them. Hopefully we end up as us. Because in the process of the tour, you come together. You share your information, they share their fascination, because a lot of them do not expect the kind of stuff that we have to show. And when you finish up, you're all buddies, and you're just having the best time, and they want to hang out with you. The way you achieve that is by you being comfortable in the tour you are giving. And the way that's accomplished is by 3. I recommend in the beginning that you pick 3 items in the museum that have caught your fancy. You have been given the world's biggest amount of information. It is daunting. It is not there to make you intimidated. It is there to allow you to choose. So you get to say, okay, all this stuff, I'm certainly not telling it to every visitor. What do I want to tell them about? Now, I have some recommendations about these 3 things. They should be geographically reachable. Don't do 1, 2, 3. You'll never get out of this room. So think about their location in the museum itself, and then think about getting from point A to point B to point C, because you don't want to lose your people attention in the process. So pick 3. Some of you, I think, have experience in leading tours, and you may be comfortable picking 4 or 5. It's your tour. You get to do what you want to do as long as you're comfortable. But starting with 3 means that as you get more comfortable, you can add to it. And as you are going from 1 to 2 to 3, you will pass by 1.5. And you can mention that as you go by it. And then the next tour, maybe you'll stop at 1.5, and that'll take you to 4. Eventually, you will find your flow. And I do the same tour almost every time. New people makes it better that way. But it's because I'm comfortable with it. I know where my stuff is. I know what I love the best. And what you'll love the best is what makes the tour memorable to the visitors. Almost all visitors come away thinking, wow, this must be a wonderful place because look how enthusiastic the tour guide was. You can't teach enthusiasm, but you can infect it. It's very contagious. And if you like what you're talking about, those people are going to end up liking it and liking you at the same time. So start with what you're comfortable with, enlarge it as you feel comfortable about doing it, and be prepared to have inadvertent interference. If you've got the group on your wavelength, somebody may ask you a question, and they may ask you a question that your mind goes, yeah, and it's gone. It is okay to say, you know, that's interesting, I don't really know that answer. I can find it out. You don't have to be the know-it-all of the world. It humanizes you if you can acknowledge that you don't know this answer, and that it was a good, tricky question actually, and that you can indeed find it out. We have an extraordinary research library, and by the time Jim and his cohorts are finished, we'll have all of this on video and you won't need any of us at all. For your graduation, which is coming up shortly, I have a couple of recommendations. The first is, do it. The longer you put it off, the worse it looks. It gets out there and it gets bigger and bigger. Jump into it. You can't fail. And the reason you can't fail is because you are surrounded in this museum by people who have been exactly where you've been, and as terrified as some of you may be, and they know it, and they want you because we need every very good volunteer we can get. If you have come to our volunteer meetings, you know that we put out a schedule every month, and there are day captains. I'm the Saturday day, partial Saturday day captain. Marcia is now taking over your shift, Jerry. And those day captains are very anxious to have you come and work for them. There are gaps in our regular calendar. Sign up for them. Try it. Don't think you're going to have the best success in the world. You may not even have a visitor. Ugh. But you will get to know the desk person if you're working the floor, or you'll get to know the floor person if you're working the desk. You get a sense of the kind of camaraderie that exists in the volunteers in this organization. That's 90% of the reason most of us are here. It has nothing to do with the museum. It has to do with the people. Please don't put it off, because the longer you put it off, you know from your own experiences, the less likely you are to do it. And the more intimidating it looks. I mean, you begin to forget all of that stuff you've been sitting here learning, and then you begin to question whether you can even open your mouth. I mean, it happens. The way to solve that is to come on, get in there and do it. I promised that I would make a pitch for Marcia, who's taking over as your Saturday day captain. I'm so old that I'm getting cloned here. I'm getting other people to take my job. Marcia works the first, third, and fifth occasional Saturdays. And Marcia has 2 openings coming up on the floor in May. The first Saturday in May and the third Saturday in May in the mornings. Stephanie Flumaten is off to Paris. We have lives. There are lives beyond the museum. But I would recommend, if you get to the volunteer meeting this Wednesday, that you sign up for those 2 slots. The reason I recommend it is because Bob Little is the other docent on that Saturday shift. Bob Little knows more than God about this museum. He's a kick in the ass to work with, and it'll be the easiest shift you'll ever get, because on the weekends we do have 2 floor docents on each shift. So think about, if you don't go to the meeting, talk to Jerry. He can put you in touch with Marcia, who I said had to solve this problem. Please join in any fashion that you can. Now, I really want to urge you to be floor docents, but there's lots of other stuff. And you've probably heard from people about other stuff. One of them is the education program. I don't do it because I've raised my kids and it's enough for me, but there are people who think that working with 4th and 5th graders is the Catholic. We have a huge school program, and they're always looking for people, and it's a very tight little skit that you prepare for the school program. It's not 3 hours of chatterbox. So think about joining the school program. We also need men. I'm sorry, ladies, we can take you too. But we move stuff, and we've got guys. I mean, this museum is run entirely by the volunteers. We need you. Jim Kaczynski needs you to help with all the sound. Jerry occasionally needs help with whatever it is that Jerry does. There's lots of ways to find a niche for yourself. You can do these extracurricular things, including our parties where we use bartenders regularly. But the first and primary job of every volunteer in the museum is to keep the doors open, to do the tours, and to do the desk. I welcome you to the bunch. I'm available for any questions you may have, and I thank you for listening to me.
Very nice.